Nobody gonna tell you I'm crazy, but ain't nobody gonna tell you what they did to me to make me act crazy. Ain't nobody just out here acting crazy to be crazy. I got a whole lot of sense. Y'all be acting crazy, so I react crazy. Duh.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Hi, this is Monica, and welcome back to my channel. Like, comment, and subscribe. And today, I got a couple of errands that I got to run. I got to get ready to get my picture taken at a position that I just accepted. But I wanted to go and I wanted to tell y'all this story because, see, I've talked about just about everybody that has fucked over my mom. I've told y'all several times about how people have messed over my mom. But the one person I haven't talked about, and I've talked about a lot of them, and I still not finished. But this one person is the Hillbilly. See, the Hillbilly is my grandma and my granddaddy's youngest child. And she consistently was treated like just that. See, my mom is the kind of person that she always look out for her brothers and sisters. I've told y'all that before. But nevertheless, she was the one I think hurt my mom the most. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, and welcome back to this channel. And listen, y'all have to have faith in me just like I have faith in y'all. Well, see, my mom has always looked out for the Hillbilly. She's always looked out for the Hillbilly because she was just like I said, a hillbilly. She has pet chickens and all this other extra shit and all this Farmer John shit and all this other shit. But my mom always, if it was one of her sisters, she's besides the one in the wheelchair that she always looked after, it was always the Hillbilly. So I'm going to take y'all back to how the bond between my mom, my sister, and the Hillbilly started. See, the Hillbilly went out of town. And something or another had happened and she had to come back. But when she came back, she was pregnant. And she was pregnant by my Uncle Phil. And my Uncle Phil absolutely loved her. But see, my granddaddy and my two uncles, Dumb and Dumber, they didn't like him. So because my aunt had this baby, she had moved into one of their properties. See, my granddaddy had houses. It was okay with my granddaddy for my aunt to stay there, but my uncle couldn't stay there. And by my uncle not being able to stay there, because they were married, my granddaddy then was having a fit about this. When I say they was having a fit about this, they was shitting they goddamn drawers behind this. But at the end of the day, my mom didn't give a fuck about that because that's her sister. So my mom would have went against the grain when it came to her sister, just like I said. But nevertheless, this is what was going on. So this particular time, my granddaddy and Dumb and Dumber decided to go over to the house that she was actually paying rent in and fight her. But when they went to go fight her, my mom just so happened to be there. My sister had just had my oldest nephew. My oldest nephew had to be maybe like 6 or 7 months old when this fight started. So when they kicked the door in at the apartment that my aunt stayed in, my mom was there. Now, when they kicked the door in, that brought my mom off of the couch. My mom stood up. She told him, she said, "You're going to leave my sister alone. She just had this baby. You are going to leave my sister alone. You're not going to put your hands on her." Immediately, Dumb put his hands on my mother. And my mother was swinging for her life. Now, keep in mind, my mother and my aunt is like ringing in at 5'5", 5'4", 5.5", something around in there. When I tell you they are like 6'3", 6'4", 300 plus pound motherfuckers, they are. But my mother didn't give a fuck. My mother went for toe to toe. She was going for it. Toe to toe, my mother was taking them out. But by this time, Dumber seeing my mom handling the other brother, so he came for my mother. My mother jumped over my aunt as she guarded her with her body while they was hitting my mother with the butt end of a pistol. My right-handed guy, he know I'm not lying. They was hitting her. By my mom being bent down, holding her hands like this, it guarded her head, but she put her entire body over her sister in order for her to block her. They was kicking them. They was fighting them. They was trying to get them out of this house. Now, by this time, my sister, Monique, had her oldest child was in the car while the car was running. She locked the doors. She came and ran in the house. When she ran in the house, they went after my sister. But by my sister being as short as my mom, she could maneuver fast. Monique grabbed the baby because they was coming for the baby. They wasn't coming for my aunt. They was actually coming for the baby. When they was coming for the baby, my sister put the baby down in her shirt. She kicked, you know how your screen door got that metal piece at the bottom? My sister kicked that piece out and she scooted through there with the baby and she took off. That brought them all the way out on the porch, chasing my sister Monique. And when I say my sister had this baby, she had him. And she put him newborn, put him in her shirt. She took off. By this time, my mother and my aunt, the Lord knows this is an actual true story. When my sister got away, my mother, all she could think of is that they was after my sister Monique. My mother ran out the screen door, and when she jumped and she pushed them all off the porch, my granddaddy included, hit the dirt. When I say they walked out and left everything in that house, they left everything in that house. My aunt could only grab what she could to put in her car and leave. This is the reason why my mother and my aunt was bonded the way they was. Because my mother and my sister actually saved her from them hurting her because she had her husband in that house. So yeah, my mother was actually protective over the hillbilly. My mother took her time and she was actually protecting her. But yet and still, somewhere in her mind, she knew that she was going to fuck over my mother. And she did just that. Now, we're going to move the story up a little further. We're going to move the story up after my grandma passed. Even after my grandma passed, my mother and the hillbilly was close. I mean, close, thicker than thieves. Because my mother, to the point, my cousin, until all this shit broke out between my mother and his mother, was calling my mother grandma. That's how close they was. But at the end of the day, this is how my mother was with each and every one of her sisters and brothers. Each and every one. My mother is not right. And I got stories about her behind too, because my mother ain't right. But at the end of the day, her loyalty meant everything to her when it came to her siblings. But it didn't mean everything to them because they didn't give a fuck. So after my sister had passed, a lot of shit was going on. When the shit was happening with my grandma, my aunt started acting funny towards my mother then. But then after my sister passed, remember I told y'all the story about how my aunt Bearded Betty and the hillbilly was sitting on the porch with my mom and they was trying to get her drunk and her purse was sitting on the porch. Remember I told y'all that story. But nevertheless, my aunt got a job at the hospital that I used to work at. Not this prior hospital, but the one before that. And so I welcomed her in because I didn't know that she was as conniving and dirty as she was. But nevertheless, I did that. But one particular day, because all this shit was going on, I caught whiff of her talking about my mother in that hospital to these perfect strangers, to these people who didn't know her, to try to impress them. I don't even understand why. But they kept questioning me about the relationship between my aunt and my mother. And I kept saying, like, why would y'all question me? That don't have anything to do with y'all. That don't have anything to do with this job. So I went to her. And I asked her about it. I said, hey, what's going on? I said, why is these people asking me questions about my mother and they don't know her? Her response was, I don't know, Monica. I don't know. I never mentioned anything or nothing like this. Now, but as you see, I done changed my clothes and I done got ready for my appointment, which is at 12 o'clock and I'm on my way there. So, yeah, I had to get ready for that. But see, nevertheless, my sister and my mom protected my aunt. But when my aunt was telling these people at my job about my mom, I kept asking her, like, why are you doing that? Like, what is the purpose of that? She kept telling me, no, Monica, I don't understand why this is going on. This, that, and the third, this, that, and the third. Now, keep in mind, I have been going back and telling my mom, like, Mom, she is at my job telling these people about you. She like, no, Monica, just wait it out and see what's going to happen. Because my mom always had faith in her sisters and brothers. She just didn't have faith that they liked her like they did. But they didn't. But see, my mom always thought that my aunt, who was the hillbilly, liked her, and she really didn't. Because, see, the tension was building between my mom and her brothers and sisters because of the policy of my grandma and my sister. But see, her and Bearded Betty had been over to my mom's house already and tried to get her drunk and all this other stuff. They had went to her cousins, they were talking about how drunk my mom was, how she was falling asleep on the porch and this, that, and the third. Now, I was already pissed off about that. But nevertheless, not only was I pissed off about that, I was pissed off about a host of other stuff. But those are her brothers and sisters. Who am I to get in the middle of it? Okay, so time goes on. Now she's talking shit about my mom, calling her all kinds of names and stuff to my other aunt. And when she was talking this shit to my other aunt, the one in the wheelchair had already died. So this fueled that because my mom took care of my aunt also. But she got her cremated because her urn is still in my mom's house. We'll talk about that old urn in a minute. But anyway, they were still after my mom because they, for some reason, I don't know why they thought that my mom had like goo gobs of money. My mom didn't have goo gobs of money. My mom works every day to the point that my mom is at work right now and she's 72. Okay, I've made it to my destination. Now, keep in mind, my mom is so open-minded when it comes to them, you can't really tell her anything. She got to learn it the hard way. So I approached my aunt when I heard about her talking about my mom at the hospital. So I asked her, I said, honey, I said, listen, just so that relationship between me and you don't go bad, stop it. I said, stop. I said, because what goes on outside of this hospital don't got shit to do with my mom. She like, oh no, Niecy, I love you, da-da-da-da, gave me a kiss, all this other extra shit. So when she was doing this, I was looking at her like, yeah, bitch, I already got your number, chicken, nan. So yeah. So I was watching her totally destroy my mom. And you can only do something so far before you push somebody to the point of no return. My mom gets a phone call from this motherfucker, and she's telling my mom, like, I don't appreciate you doing this, I don't appreciate you doing that. But keep in mind, my mom is 70-something years old. My mom is not trying to start no fight with nobody. Before I go any further, yes, I came home and I took all them clothes and stuff off because I handled my business like I was supposed to, girl. But nevertheless, when I talked to her, she explained to me that she wasn't doing this. But it was no way in hell that some perfect strangers knew, what is wrong with this eyelash? Some perfect strangers knew everything that was going on with my mom. Didn't this motherfucker turn around, not even 24 hours later, went to the nurse manager and told her, I would really appreciate it if you kept me and Monica off the same shift because she's taking up for her mother and it's got a whole lot of dynamics and whoop-de-whoop, scoopity-bop. She lies, she grow chickens in her house. Okay, so when I found out about this, I get called to the office. When I get called to the office, I'm thinking like, what the fuck did I do? Oh my God, what did I do? So this whole time when I get to the lady's office, she sit me down, she's like, Monica, she said, it's nothing that you've done. She was like, but I want you to keep all whatever's going on within your family out of the building. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes into telling me that my aunt sat down with her and the CEO of the hospital and told them that me and her had a problem, which she was liar. When she was lying and told them this whole story. Now, keep in mind, I'm boiling at this point. I am boiling. I'm so mad that they send me home for the day because they think that by her being, this person, that we're going to go ahead and send her home because Monica's really, really mad. No, honey, no. I found out that she worked third shift that night, and this is what happened. I was at home, and I kept boiling. You know how you sit at home and something keep going on in your mind and keep going on? Honey, I found out, not only did I find out that she was talking shit at my job about my mom, but she was talking shit amongst my mom's family. Cousins, how I know she was talking shit about my mom within her family is because my mom's first cousin saw me. And she started telling me about the conversations that was going on between my aunt, the hillbilly, and my aunt with the beard and all this other stuff about the grandma and all this other stuff. So immediately I am at home. I am boiling at this point. I jump in my car. I know she getting ready to catch the bus home because she didn't have a car at the time. So I knew she was getting ready to catch the bus home. I did 100 from my house to that motherfucking hospital because I know that bitch was at that goddamn bus stop. I pulled up. When I pulled up, I couldn't even throw my car and park fast enough before I popped out the car and I introduced her to an ass whooping. She started running around the bus stop. We was running around the bus stop. My car's still running. Security is coming because they see us out the window at the rehab house next to the hospital. They see us outside running around crazy. Because listen to me, at this point, I done lost my shit. I am pissed. I got my situation with my grandma on my mind. My sister is gone. All this other stuff. My mother is losing her shit because she got her brothers and sisters on against her and all this other stuff. And this bitch sat in my mother's face. Now keep in mind, I could see if my mother wasn't the type that was taking care of her raggedy ass. But she was. She took care of her from day one. My mother did. Gave her money, made sure she had. When my mother ate, she ate. When my mother ate, her husband ate. My mother made sure to take care of her husband when she did. But at the end of the day, this bitch wanted to make sure to get on my mother's motherfucking nerve. Do you know she called my mother that day and cussed my damn phone? She cussed my mother out. Tell her, you keep Monica out my face. And My mother and her passed the words, they exchanging. I tell my mother, you tell that bitch to call me. She got a problem with what I did. She can call me, is what I told her. My mother like, you ain't getting ready to jump in my baby's face and this, that, and the third. Listen to me. So, of course, she took the next couple of days off. Went back and told these same people about what I did outside. I wasn't on their property. I wasn't on the hospital property. I was in the parking lot that was connected to the halfway house. So at the end of the day, she did decide to go and rat me out on that. See, I haven't spoke to her since then. But see, she keeping stuff started with my mother. But see, my mother is more hurt at the fact that she took care of her. That my sister saved her son. That my mother took headshots for her dumb ass. But see, yet still, this is the type of shit that be going on with my mother. This is the type of shit that be going on with her brothers and sisters. And this is the type of shit that be going on with this eyelash that I can't wait to throw in the trash. But just like I said, this is some of the stuff that's been going on. I had to touch base about some of the stuff that these other players had something to do with. Because it wasn't just the main four. This one had a lot to do with what was going on with my mother. Now, see, my mother hasn't spoke to her either. And I don't want my mom to. Because if you can sit there and you know my mother fed you and took care of you and you still fuck over my mother, I don't want my mother around these kind of people. So just like I said, it's more and more and more shit that I have to tell y'all that has to do with my mother and her family. See, these are not normal people. These people are cut from a whole different cloth, a whole different pattern than the rest of everybody else. So just like I said, like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in my next story. Bye.